Here, what's up, chat? What's up, guys? Happy Wednesday, February 16th, 2022. We got 2 games. I keep saying that. We got 2 days until the All-Star break starts, and it begins tonight. 11 games on the docket. We got so much to talk about, so much to chop up, trying to find our edges and our wedges. Remix. What's happening? Yep, turn it off. Turn it off. It's so I don't know why it goes from like 4 to none real fast. I'm trying to get to the 1, trying to mix it, sound professional, but it didn't work. So whatever, man, whatever, bro. Chat, how'd you guys do last night? Several games of basketball on the docket. Giannis Antetokounmpo, stop me if you heard this one before, led the entire slate in fantasy points, 50 real points, 14 rebounds, and a couple of extra peripherals to boot. 36 minutes of action. Karl-Anthony Towns, the big cat, Ernie Ladd, second on the slate in fantasy points, 42 minutes. They went to extra innings. Anthony Edwards injured midway through that game, did not touch the court in the second half. Trey Young, 60 fantasy points, 41 real ones, 9 assists. Tatum with a 59 burger in the stomping, the absolute destruction of the Philadelphia 76ers. No surprises here at the top. Maybe Mobley overperformed, right? 22 and 10 with 5 stocks. If you had him, cool. Buddy Hield, 49 fantasy points on 36 real ones, was going bananas from behind the arc. Hit 8 3-pointers. That's how you attack the Milwaukee Bucks. If you're gonna hit, then hit. Mason Plumlee, 1 assist shy of a triple-double, 36 minutes. Who'd have thunk it with Montrezl Harrell on the team? But other than that, just like no real super stunners up at the top. Tyus Jones get an opportunity without Ja Morant to thrive, and thrive he did. 27 real points, 9 assists. Big game from him. And then, pretty par for the course as we went on from there. Jaden McDaniels, if somehow you played him, you own a time machine, and if so, let me see that thing. 6 stocks on his way to 41 fantasy points, 37 minutes of action. Talked about how he benefited from no Anthony Edwards for half of that game. So incredible play if you somehow got that into the mix. Your shout out to the live chat: Lorenza, Skimmer, Fish Fan, Mia Moore, Mike in the chat. Patrick Walker says, I'm back. Cam Newton gif. What up, Jake Smooth, Dadrian, Shaky Jake, Brendan. Ty Jones was fire. Yeah, he was. 1 player away from 100K, bro. That stings. It stings, bro. It doesn't like that's you did. I feel like sometimes I remember the losses more than the wins, and I can probably remember so many times where I was 1 click away, 1 guy away, or 1 wrong late swap away from 50K, 100K, something like that. So that's unfortunate. But hey, there's always tomorrow, and tomorrow is today, though. Shout out to my boy Danny. 11 games, like I said. This will actually probably be my 3rd time chopping this game up. I did look at it with the coach on the DFS Coach YouTube channel. Make sure you take a gander over there, hit them with that young sub button, some likes, some comments. And then I also just looked at it with Josh from a PrizePicks prop betting standpoint on the hour preceding this show. A couple of keen leans, if you will. And then hopefully more develop as we go forward. We're going to do a little bit more in-depth game-to-game research to have stronger yays or nays, and go from there, man. All I ask from you guys, if you bring the good vibes and you hit that thumbs up and show some love. And if you're not subbed, hit sub. Yesterday we hit a milestone, another one. We hit 6,500 subscribers, putting us less than 500 away from 7K, which I think we can get by the middle of next month on the pace that we're on. Maybe by the end of next month. All-Star break might throw us for a loop, but 7K is incredible considering how long it took to get to 5K. And just like that, the channel's starting to boom. So I am not doing it by myself. It's you guys. You guys bring the vibes. You guys interacting with these videos, these streams, and that stirs the channel's presence in the algorithm. And lately, you guys that have been in these live streams, you've seen the people come in saying YouTube recommended this, and that is the pure product of you guys taking part in being engaging with the video. So subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and I will be forever indebted and sorely appreciative. What up, Keith? What up, Mike? I have a lot of Capela popping up. Yeah, Capela might be in line for another 30-minute opportunity without John Collins. Smack that thumb. What up, Elvin? How we doing? How we doing? You guys doing all right? Just 2 more days. 2 more days, and then we can recharge and go forward. Hey, this stream brought to you by RunDFS.com. That is what powers everything. The spreadsheets that I'll be using throughout the duration of the stream, that is a premium perk of RunDFS.com. And then, of course, we have the premium Discord community, 24/7 nonstop chat, jibber jabber, if you will. Shout out to Mr. T. And then all hours of the night, you can find some fire. Last night, I tailed some absolute fire from the homie Jake for some Call of Duty PrizePicks and turned a couple $100 profit due to that. Actually, actually it went pretty well. It was really close to going insanely well. So if you guys want to join a community like that, man, I definitely implore you guys go to RunDFS.com, click VIP memberships, find something that's right for you. I'll be writing down everyone that gets a pass in the last day or two, and then the next day or two, and I'll try to manually add 4 or 5 days to everyone's sub. That way you don't feel like you're getting robbed from the All-Star break with a couple days off of coverage. I do that every year, make it right. And yeah, so if you want to support the stream sports site, go to RunDFS.com, click VIP memberships, and get signed up today. And then, of course, every membership comes with a built-in voucher towards a Fantasy Cruncher subscription. Lots of fun. And then, of course, we're also brought to you by PrizePicks. If you're not on PrizePicks, you should be on PrizePicks, because PrizePicks take care of me, and it's becoming a great way for me to replace cash games. And this is a concept I've been discussing the last day or so in the Discord. But when I first got into DFS, fantasy sports, I was a cash game grinder. Those 50-50s that I just thought I was able to cash at a high rate in 50-50s. Now it's so much harder to cash consistently in DFS because the field is so much sharper, so much smarter. There's so many great content creators and projection models and optimizers, yada, 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 that I've become a tournament player for DFS. And lately on PrizePicks, I've been able to grind a little bit more profit that feels a little bit more cash gamey, right? 3x in the 2-pick powers and run a lot more flexes. So while the 10x's are nice, I like this as a supplement to what I've been missing out on for the last 4 or 5 years. Is it's just a small incremental bankroll booster, and it's been so much fun. Last couple days are nice. I might put up a video or so showing how I'm doing it. Essentially, so like I don't know. Here's an example. I have this notepad up from picks earlier. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a 5-pick Call of Duty card that I ran earlier, and then I would just essentially round robin them into 2-pick powers. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and I think it comes out to 10 2-pick powers, and if you hit 3 of those 5, you're going to profit no matter what. And then if you hit, 4 of the 5 or 5 of the 5, you're going to look really, really good. So if you guys maybe want to tail that process, hit me up in the Discord, and maybe we can come out with a video for it in the not too distant future, right? What up, Isaiah Robinson, Stephen Jokic going off tonight? I like that. What up, Keith? What's good with the free trial for that PP ad? Let me get that free week. Man, I wish there was a better way for me to actually do that. PrizePicks actually used to send out daily. I don't know. They used to notify us daily on who signed up using our code. But now it's only once a week, so it's a little harder to promise, a little bit of free stuff. But maybe if you guys keep the vibes right, I don't know where the viewers, we're kind of struggling on views right now, but if you keep the vibes right, maybe we'll do a free pass giveaway or something like that today at a like goal or something. Yeah. What up, Jordan? Thanks for doing these vids, Gun. Hit both my entries and went 300 on PrizePicks yesterday. Let's go, Jordan. That's awesome. Love to hear that. Speaking of which, the PrizePicks video, I got to put some ads on that, chat. So let me do that. By the way, chat, I got a question. This is a real question. I discussed it with my business partner and girlfriend, Danny. But on the other side of the All-Star break, I was thinking about having I don't know what to call it, a happy hour or whatever, where I'm just live, um, doing light research, getting my spreadsheets ready to go. So it'd be like I don't know, just being live researching, and then I would have the ability to hit some more questions, stuff like that, some background noise for you guys, maybe some lo-fi music. Wouldn't expect it to carry 100 views or something like that, but just be kind of curious if anyone has another hole in their afternoon where something like that would be something they get behind. Um, just an idea. I got a couple of ideas for the other side of the All-Star break. I don't know if that would be a long-term show, waiting on NBA to come back, but I was thinking that the concept of that show would be to so if we did and for my time, I do this stream at 2, I do the prize pick stream at 1, so that stream could maybe be at 12, 11:30. And I would just kind of sit, open Discord call, and subscribers could jump in. Maybe the YouTube subscribers could jump in, and add that as an extra piece of content for this channel, and it's just a little bit more fluid to where I can actually tackle a lot more questions if I'm not super short on time. So I don't know, there's some thoughts on that would be nice. And then maybe that would be a show that could be catered more so towards memberships for the YouTube channel. So I don't know, something to think about. Need more streams? Yeah, we might. I wish I need some more talent, man. What up, Chronic? I would watch, of course. Yeah, Elvin. I definitely think there's a lot of people that just hang out in the afternoon just doing light research. It wouldn't be like a formulaic breakdown of anything. Just kind of getting some research done and digesting stuff, right? Uh, you can call it the stream before the stream. Yeah, there's a couple different things. Shoot around, happy hour, whatever. Batting practice for baseball. Just encompassing some work while being live and be able to hang out. You can call it the stream before the stream. We just might. Anyway, let's jump into tonight's slate, man. Let's get some work done, get some research done, and hopefully come up with a pretty sharp player pool for tonight. Game number 1 on today's docket, the Atlanta Hawks at the Orlando Magic. Project starting 5 for the Hawks: Trey Young, Kevin Huerter, DeAndre Hunter, Danilo Gallinari, and Clint Capela, up against Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., and Mo Bamba. He's got hoes. Colin, it should be pretty should stand out that this total is at 230 and just a 6-point spread. And I've said it a few times today. The spread kind of took me, I don't say by surprise, but I don't know what I was expecting, but I feel like I expected the Hawks to be a little bit more sizable favorites here, as one of the more efficient offenses in basketball. While their defense does leave a lot to be desired, their offense has been hitting on all cylinders, and I guess it's pretty focal around Trey Young. The Magic offense, not as good. Their defense, not great either. So for them to be +6 here, I felt like that was a little low. But I guess maybe, just maybe, there's a couple of ways we can justify the Hawks keeping this game close. One is this is their 3rd game in 4 nights, right? And they don't have John Collins. Collins has missed the last 2 games, and while they've had to scrap against the Cavs and the Celtics in their last 2 outings, this is a lesser defense, right? This Cavs and Celtics defense are pretty stout. This one not so much. And I also ran this query on the PrizePicks stream. It was the Atlanta Hawks defensive rating without John Collins this season. This number is ridiculous. It's 124.2 points per 100 possessions, right? The defensive rating. It's 7 games played without John Collins. That's just insane. 116 points per game allowed. So I don't know. Maybe that's painting a picture to where Vegas thinks that the Magic at home here keep this game a little bit closer. So if we do keep this game close, well, Trey Young at 9,400 on DraftKings, that smells like a pretty strong play here. And early on, my projections like him to exceed 50 fantasy points. And in context of the full slate here, his fantasy point projection would be top 2 on the slate behind just Jokic right now. And I'm a buyer of that. I like that. I think that the $9,400 price tag is a little too low here. So something I'm jotting down early. Then Clint Capela, we've noted several times in the last couple weeks that Clint Capela had been losing fourth quarter minutes in lieu of Okongwu and in lieu of John Collins stretch it out to the 5 a little bit more. Well, that hasn't been the case the last 2 games, and last night we saw Clint Capela play fourth quarter run. He played 30 minutes, and then the game prior, we saw Clint Capela play fourth quarter run, closed out, played 31 minutes. There's not two worse matchups in basketball right now than the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers for a big, right? Evan Mobley, lockdown defender, and the Celtics are just on a new level. So maybe 2 games of 30 minutes might sour the expectations for Clint Capela for the field. Maybe I'm wrong here, but if game log watchers let the game log tell the story here without the context, maybe 5,300 is awfully cheap for Clint Capela here at a guy that's coming in with an incredible projection in my model, well over 30 fantasy points. So something to keep an eye on there. On the Magic side, Wendell Carter has been my favorite target for the Magic in the last stretch, pushing a 30% usage rate in the last 3-4 games. He's been the most consistent of any of the Magic players. Double-digit shot attempts, and then the peripherals are there as well. So potentially a double-double. And we saw what Evan Mobley was able to do last night. Maybe he's not going to replicate those numbers quite as much, but 40 plus fantasy points isn't an outlandish expectation here. I got him right about 40 fantasy points. And then Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, you're not going to feel warm or fuzzy about those guys pre-flop, but you know that the range of outcomes for them to thrive, especially as a guard against the Hawks guard defense, certainly has some potential. But I think short list here, Wendell Carter is my favorite Magic, and then Trey Young has a real chance at 9,400 to be an egregiously underpriced play if he's going to offer 30 to 40 real points and 10 plus assists. So I do like that quite a bit. Around the Hawks here, did we get more Hawks news? I feel like somebody told me earlier that Bogdanovich was downgraded, and maybe I didn't have a chance to adjust. Bogdanovich, he has a Q tag based on an ankle via The Athletic, and that was a report from today. So Bogdan can't go a night 2 of back-to-back. Does take some steam off of that offense. Maybe a little bit more minutes, more opportunity for Kevin Huerter and Trey Young. So Kevin Huerter at 4,800, 5K on Fanduel. Think he can knock on the door 30 fantasy points. Go on, get you some. And then Danilo Gallinari, man, I was a little bit suspicious of a back-to-back here. But at 4,600, if he's going to get these type of minutes, 33 minutes like you saw yesterday, 30 plus fantasy points is definitely a range of outcome for him. In terms of playing back-to-backs, it looks like he played the 30 and the 31st, 24, 23 minutes. So I guess it's safe to not worry too much about him not playing today. Doesn't have a whole lot of back-to-back logs, but 5th and 6th of last month, and then at the end of January. So I guess he's going to be a full send here. But Trey Young looking really, really good. Are you guys on Capela like this? The projections are pretty privy to Capela in this matchup, right? Quinn says you need more talent. I need more time. Quinn, you gave me such a tight window. But yeah, I do need more talent. I wouldn't mind like a morning crew, but I definitely can't add a morning show for me. That would just be ridiculous. Earliest in the morning would be good. I would see your process. I don't want to do I don't want to rip Josh off, you know what I mean? But just an extra show in the afternoon. Essentially, I wouldn't have to do anything more than I'm already doing, right? I barely roll out of bed as is, an hour and a half before the first stream, and I would just flip the switch and type away, and then we can get caught up as a group, and then we'll do the actual show. So I'm not necessarily adding more to the plate. I'm just adding more of the on switch than anything. And then when baseball comes out, then the schedule is going to be nuts. And then I also have some aspirations to get into another couple markets as we figure out this YouTube and this live content game. Third game in 4 nights for the Hawks has me all over Anthony Wendell Carter. Yeah, so Cole Anthony certainly is a guy that can push 40 plus fantasy points. Same with Jalen Suggs. Just feel like they could cannibalize each other, and they pre-flop could kill our lineup. So I from a ranking standpoint, I got Wendell Carter in 1, but Cole Anthony, Suggs are certainly 2 guys that I could get behind, right? One day, only 150 likes. So guys, Damron is dying to come out of his retirement, right? We're at 42 likes, by the way. And I gotta say, for 100 viewers, 42 likes is pretty good. Usually YouTube viewers are stingy. They want to pretend like they're not there. And we could see 300 viewers and barely get to 100 likes. And, it's what, a 33% conversion rate. So for almost 40, almost half of you guys that hit that like button, y'all are the real ones, man. Shout out to you guys. I'm sure we'll get to 200 plus here within the hour. But you guys are the real ones. So shout out to you guys for hitting them likes here. But one of these days we'll get to 200 likes, and I guess that'll be the day that old Damron comes out of retirement. Any thoughts on Kuzma over 8.5 rebounds, Indiana? Yeah, I like most of the Kuzma props for PrizePicks, and I'll sprinkle the PrizePicks looks back in when we get to that one, right? Let's move on to the next game here. Detroit Pistons at the Boston Celtics. Projects 25 for the Celtics. Derek White, maybe Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and I guess Grant Williams would be in that front court here. Let's take him out of the projected bench here, and let's find the home road keys. And let's put Aaron Nesmith back in there. And then Corey Joseph, Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, Jeremy Grant, Isaiah Stewart on the Pistons side. So last night, the Celtics put the boots. They put the stomping on the Philadelphia 76ers. Tried to tell Raj, didn't I, chat? We tried to tell Raj. He come out here disrespecting the Celtics defense. This defense is on a different planet right now. And you take out some pieces, they were still strong. Robert Williams did not start yesterday. They didn't need him. Marcus Smart did start. Got hurt in the second quarter, hit his free throws, and then left the game, didn't come back. So I'm going to assume on a back-to-back, he's going to be kind of like Anthony Edwards, where I just kind of brace for him to be out and get him into that all-star break and try to recover. And Derek White's fine. Derek White came in and thrived just fine. I think he was plus 41 in 28 minutes. It was just a stupid thing. The pace of this game should be paced down. The Pistons are a really bad offense, and Marcus Smart gets a lot of hype for his defense. Derek White's a pretty strong defender himself, so I think that's more of a lateral than anything to go from Smart to White. And I think the Celtics defense remains pretty doggone elite. So an 11-game slate where I got a 216 total, a double-digit point spread on a Celtics team that is playing just ridiculous basketball right now, I'm probably going to be out on the Pistons as a whole. I wouldn't push back if you thought 30 minutes of 6K-ish guys like Jeremy Grant, Bey, Cunningham could get there, or if you wanted to dumpster dive into this bullpen coming in and pitching a few innings in the fourth to get you there. I'm probably going to be down on this game in context of an 11 gamer. And then the Celtics side, if you wanted some shares of Brown and Tatum, go for it. I'll probably put him in the back end of the player pool and hope for the best. And then Derek White, I got him pushing 30 fantasy points. I don't quite know what to put on his minutes. I also don't quite know what to put on his usage expectation. I would expect that he would be similar to Marcus Smart, where Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum would kind of be more dominant in the usage. So I'm not expecting a lot out of Derek White. But at 6K, if we get mid-30s to 30-plus minutes, 35-plus minutes, certainly 30-plus fantasy points is a realistic range of outcome. Right now, I'm getting a really aggressive near 40 fantasy point projection. So I do like a couple of these Celtics individually, but generally, I'm probably going to not be overexposed and involved in this one, right? Andrew Martinez, how many studs does it look like you can get to on Fanduel? I mean, usually a big slate, you can probably get to 3 of them pretty easily. Fanduel's pricing is usually soft enough to do that anyway, but these bigger slates usually have a lot of value. And it looked like people were just going to use Aaron Wiggins as a free square to open up some salary. Nova says, your gun music reaction, chicks dig getting emotional to songs. I mean, I don't need chicks to dig anything, but I didn't have music reactions on the list. No, lyric interpretations is always a fascinating subject. But that wasn't on the short list here. And then my music's probably a little different than most, right? What up, Malaker? Let me know if it's close to 200. I'll take my like back. Oh, why do I find myself clicking Fournier so much today? What up, Doug? It's terrifying, but it's Wednesday, and for some reason he plays great. Stop that. I couldn't even finish that sentence, Doug. Stop it. What? I don't know, but we'll get to that game and we'll do some research. Maybe there's a correlation between him doing better without RJ Barrett, right? Definitely not outside the realm of possibility. So let's move on to the Wizards at the Pacers. Project starting five for the Wizards: Raul Neto, Corey Kispert, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Kyle Kuzma, Thomas Bryant, taking on Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, O'Shea Brissett, Jalen Smith, and Goga Batadze. We got 226 total, 1 point spread in favor of the Indiana Pacers. On the Wizards side, they are down Rui Hachimura, Daniel Gafford, Kristaps Porzingis. Thomas Bryant has been hanging on to that minutes restriction, 22 minutes. So front court gets back to being pretty light, and I got a lot of high hopes, aspirations for the minute projection on Kyle Kuzma, pushing 40 fantasy points, 1 point spread. I thought this game could be a pretty fun source for DFS goodness, and it starts with Kyle Kuzma for me on the Wizards side. So let's go pull on this on-off court tool, and let's go pull up Washington. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Kyle Kuzma on the court. I'm going to take off Bradleyus Belius. I don't know why I said it like that, but I did. Deal with it. I also just accidentally clicked Wanamaker, but it gave me Bradley Beal anyway. Lit. Let's take off Spencer Dinwiddie as well. And then it shouldn't be forgotten that Montrezl Harrell is no longer on this team. So just putting Kuzma on the floor with those three guys off the floor. We get a 25% usage rate on Kuzma, 22% assist rate. Rebound rate's pretty doggone high, in the fantasy point per minute over 1 for both Fanduel and DK scoring against this Pacers team that is porous on defense. Certainly feels like a good spot for Kyle Kuzma on Fanduel at 7,700, on DK 8,600. I think 40 plus fantasy points is a realistic expectation here, so I'm going to be in on that. And then Thomas Bryant on this minutes limit, right? I've been pretty stubborn about not playing him, and I'm not going to play him again today. But backup minutes here, who's going to play him? Is it going to be Anthony Gill? And is Anthony Gill a potential value? This is an open-ended question, right? Gill saw 25 minutes of action in that game against Detroit, and he's listed today as 3,500 on FanDuel, 3,400 on DraftKings. Is he by any chance, a power forward eligible player on FanDuel? He's small forward on DraftKings and power forward on FanDuel. So this could be one of those cheap guys we put in our back pocket. How tall is Anthony Gill to be listed as a small forward? 6'8". All right, that's not crazy. So yeah, I might get behind some Anthony Gill in terms of risky value tonight. And he's $3,400. 26 minutes against Detroit. Also saw 26 minutes against Brooklyn. Not blowing anything out the water, but maybe some minutes equal money here in this spot with the front court being so short. And in that last game, he did get those 5 minutes while Hachimura got 9 minutes. So maybe I don't know, maybe a little extra boost for him there. But I think the strongest one-to-one for me is that Kyle Kuzma looks really, really good. On the other side, the Pacers, night 2 of a back-to-back, went 11 and a half rounds with the Bucks, I guess. Halliburton, Buddy Hield, top 2 guys for me, assuming that Malcolm Brogdon's going to be out still. We speculated yesterday that there really was no reason to rush Brogdon back so close to the All-Star break. Take that extra week off and reassess. So I'm kind of anticipating him to be out tonight. If it doesn't happen, then it's an annoying spot to predict. But if we do get one more game with Brogdon out, Halliburton, Buddy Hield could push 40 minutes. And I love the potential on both of these guys' price points, maybe specifically on DraftKings, 8,400 for Halliburton on DK. I think a real shot at a double-double with assists exists, and then maybe some peripherals just in general there. 4 steals, 1 steal, 3 steals the last couple games for Halliburton. Maybe a part of his game that got slept on in Sacramento on hyping up Davion Mitchell's defense, and just the team defense was one of the worst in basketball. So maybe Halliburton has that potential to add to those stocks here for our FanDuel and PrizePicks and Yahoo scoring. So I do like that, assuming Brogdon is going to be out again. And then Buddy Hield, the minutes on Buddy Hield. Last 2 games, he showed us that he's going to chuck a lot of shots. Halliburton, a little bit of built-in chemistry from all those practices with Hield in. Sacramento, 40 minutes his last couple games, 17-plus shot attempts, and over half of them are going to be from beyond the 3-point mark. 1 for 13, 4 for 10, possible. But yesterday, 8 for 12 against the Bucks, and then in the couple games where he wasn't hitting his shots, he filled in the stat sheet with a couple peripherals here. So I do like looking at Buddy Hield as a cheap way to get 40 minutes of potential gameplay. So keep that in mind here. And as long as Chris Duarte's out, I think big minutes are going his way. The Pacers front court, a little bit harder to predict. Yesterday, a lot of people pegged Lance Stevenson to start, and his ownership reflected that, right? He was one of the highest owned guys on the slate. Only got 19 minutes of action as we saw Jalen Smith, who they acquired from the Phoenix Suns, draw a start alongside Oshae Brissett and Goga Bitadze. Put as much size as they can in a lineup against the Milwaukee Bucks. Could that have been Bucks influence, right? Could they go a little bit smaller against this incarnation of the Wizards team? I think the answer is yes. Will they? We'll see. But I guess maybe don't hold our breath that for sure Jalen Smith is starting. But if Jalen Smith does start, 3,900 on DraftKings looks like a nice price to attack because per minute he's an absolute monster. He ended up fouling out yesterday. 6 fouls in 17 minutes. But if he can stay out of foul trouble, we've got a little bit of sample size in Phoenix, and so far, minutes in Indiana, 17 minutes. He's well over a point per minute when he's out there. So at 3,900 versus the 5K price point on Fanduel, I could get to some Jalen Smith exposure on DK, but we gotta, I guess, wait for the official Pacers lineup to see how they're going to approach that. Like I said, against a smaller lineup like the Wizards, wouldn't stun me if we did see Lance Stevenson part of the starting lineup here. So something to keep an eye on. But Buddy Hield, Tyrese Halliburton, Kyle Kuzma, front end interest for me. I guess you can continue to make a case for Raul Neto on both sides under 5K. You really need to squeeze as much of 30 fantasy points as you can on an 11-game slate. 27, 19, 30 fantasy points this last couple games. So nothing I'm running to. And last slate, maybe he got bailed out by some steals. With Ish Smith in the shadows, not a warm or fuzzy. So just a risky value play we put in the back end, right? Let's get caught up on chat before we move on. What up, AJ? You like Lance? If Lance started and we felt good about him playing some decent minutes, 3,800 on DraftKings would be a little bit too cheap. Kuzma under on assists. You think so? Kuzma healed best for Ezra. I'm with you on that one. Elvis says, I'm able to get nice stars and scrubs lineup with Trey, Randle, and DeRozan tonight. Let's see what other value you get tonight. Hopefully we get a decent chunk, right? Şengün might start today. Think so? Maybe. I don't know what to expect from them, but I also don't know that I would play Şengün aggressively. I think Houston's 15-point dogs right now. No gun magic tricks. Chicks dig. No, I don't need it. Magic tricks. Watch my deposit disappear on FanDuel.com. No, I'm just joking. What up, Crispy? What up, Andrew? What's your top projected player on FanDuel? I think it's Nikola Jokic right now. What am I looking for? Player projections. Sort by highest fantasy points. I think it was Jokic, Trey Young, Julius Randle above Trey on FanDuel, and then I have Trey above Randle slightly on DK. So yeah, but Jokic is on top. Terry Taylor got 32 minutes. I'm off of Lance today. I don't know what to expect from the Pacers last night. If we put some context to Terry Taylor's minutes here, Terry Taylor he was pretty actively involved. Was he a direct benefit of Jalen Smith foul trouble? Looks like all of his minutes are directly opposite Jalen Smith. So if you think Jalen Smith doesn't get into immense foul trouble and fouls out, that probably comes from Terry Taylor. Yeah, it looks like every single minute Terry Taylor logged outside of this small stint in the second quarter was completely opposite Jalen Smith. So something to keep an eye on. And then Lance Stevenson, like I said, I don't know what we expected from Lance here. I also feel like there's a chance that lineup was in response to the Bucks' size, and this Wizards lineup will not be as lanky as the Bucks. Also, not a home run splits guy. I'm just not. But if you are, you should be noting that Lance Stevenson averages 10 more fantasy points per game at home. Maybe there's something in the air. Maybe that adrenaline of that Indiana crowd hits different. I don't know. Nets at the Knicks. Next game on the docket, project starting five for the Nets. Patty Mills, Seth Curry, Bruce Brown, Kessler Edwards, and Andre, the Giant Drummond, taking on Kemba Walker, Quentin Grimes, Evan Fournier, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. Got 217.5 total, 4.5 points spread in favor of the home team, New York Knicks. Nets kind of showed their hand of what they might do without Kyrie. Now that they have Seth Curry, they have Andre Drummond, but we didn't get a lot of minutes out of Drummond despite him starting, and it wasn't necessarily due to anything in particular other than he just didn't get a bunch of minutes, and you could argue maybe he was part of a mop-up crew at the end there that maybe he wouldn't be part of. I don't know, in another game, So Drummond played 24 minutes in that game against the Sacramento Kings. Per minute was fine. He did Andre Drummond things, but we were worried about that front court just having too many chefs, right? Too many cooks, if you will. Drummond, LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, James Johnson, Nicholas Claxton, Darren Sharp. Like, they have a lot of people. And I think ultimately you can't play minutes for everyone. I think it's realistic to expect Blake Griffin to maybe go out of the rotation again, and maybe one of Darren Sharp and Claxton to get out of the rotation. And then we go from there. And still not a big expectation on minutes. You might expect Drummond's size to be a little bit more valued against Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle, to where that 22, 25 minutes becomes 30-plus minutes. And I do think at this price point for Drummond, 6K, 5.8 on DK, that price is like Hassan Whiteside. He's going to break a slate here and there and nuke everything. So if we can get him at a decent ownership and you're running, 100 lineups or so, it might be worth some exposure to it. But that's going to be a judgment call on your gut. Patty Mills and Seth Curry, how did they react to each other in that first game of sample size against the Kings? So let's pull up Curry. Let's pull up Patty Mills. Putting them on the floor together. See how the numbers shook out. Now, I understand it's a one-game sample size. Things can change. 23 minutes of overlap. Curry had a 36% usage rate. Patty Mills 54%, and the assist rates. Like, this is completely unsustainable, not even worth looking at. So, do you guys think Seth Curry is live today to make your player pool under 6K? Exceeded 30 fantasy points against his former team, the Sacramento Kings. 18 shot attempts. That's a good start. 7 rebounds, maybe a little bit elevated, what you might expect in a pace down spot against the Knicks team with some size. And then the 5 assists is probably par for the course if he's going to share the court with Patty Mills like that. So maybe he's priced, specifically appropriately for this spot, and when he overlaps with guys like LaMarcus Aldridge that are going to have some usage, Cam Thomas. So maybe the Nets are just generally correctly priced with a couple of individual spike opportunities, like a Drummond, like a Curry. A little harder to read. I'm curious to see what you guys are thinking. Are you guys running Seth Curry with a high level of confidence? Let me know. On the Knicks side, RJ Barrett's absence has been so nice for Knicks in a fantasy perspective, and Julius Randle continues this tear that began on that road trip for them, right? We pull up Randle's game log here over at DraftKings. Julius Randle, 62, 56, 61, 58. You sunk my battleship. He did go to overtime against OKC. He did foul out in that game. But prior to that, man, he's been so tuned in to this offense. His usage through the roof, and the shot attempts clearing 20, triple-doubled against OKC. OKC, maybe the Nets aren't that bad, but maybe they're not that good either, because without Kyrie, without Harden, without KD, they certainly have some chemistry to start developing. So I like Randle to run it back here. And somebody asked, who was my top scorer on Fanduel? Well, right now it's Jokic, but I got a big number coming back for Julius Randle right now against this undersized Nets front court. And if we pull up that on-off court tool over at Add More Funds NBA Wowie, and we open up the Knicks here, as soon as my brain can process New York. Why am I? Oh, I'm actually, and we'll put Julius Randle on the court, and we'll take RJ Barrett off the court. I'm not going to do much else. We'll just do that. get some numbers to live with. Julius Randle, first of all, live to play 38 plus minutes. Noel expected to be out again. 30% usage rate in this split, a 26% assist rate, and over a fantasy point per minute. So we mentioned the inequities of this Nets front court. They did add some size in Drummond. Drummond's a traffic cone. Don't get it twisted, right? Shouldn't stop and slow down Julius Randle at all. So I like Julius Randle as one of my favorite plays on the slate. And then I also like looking at the Nets from a prize pick, or excuse me, the Knicks for a prize picks perspective, keying in on Julius Randle. It's hard to type and talk. Julius Randle is at 46 fantasy points over there. And like I said, my early projection is nuts. Over almost a 10-point gap there. So I got a couple guys with 10-point gaps from this far out. I think Tyrese Halliburton's one, Julius Randle, Kyle Kuzma, guys like that. So I'm probably going to stay aggressive as long as the news doesn't really adjust that. And RJ Barrett's absence makes a lot of sense here. So my boy Doug, he mentioned Evan Fournier, perhaps in jest, but maybe there's something to it. We'll put Randle on the court with Evan Fournier, leaving RJ Barrett off. Fournier, 0.8 fantasy point per minute, essentially, 22% usage rate. So not terrible, right? Not great, but not terrible. In context to what it is with RJ Barrett on the court. Evan Fournier, no, not much, just 20%. Evan Fournier is just Evan Fournier. Gonna pop when he pops. But Julius Randle stands out to me. And then Mitchell Robinson. I mentioned Clint Capela at a similar price point earlier. Mitchell Robinson is a guy that can put up Capela as stocks, at least Capela of yesteryear stocks. And he's $5,900. He had, was it 8 stocks against the Thunder? The Thunder are notorious for blocks allowed to two opposing bigs. But Mitchell Robinson blocks are a real part of his game, 4, 3, 3. And then a couple steals in that last outing to really beef up his fantasy score, 51 fantasy points. 41 minutes, overtime, Randle fouls out. I expect him to be closer to like 30 minutes here, but think without Nerlens Noel, 30 plus is a real outcome. So I do like Mitchell Robinson. I put him at 29 minutes. I'm getting over 30 fantasy points. So the DK price point, a little bit more favorable than the Fanduel, but the Fanduel scoring a little bit more favorable for Mitchell Robinson's game. So I don't mind putting that in the blender here. Not running to jam in Quentin Grimes and Kemba Walker, but there was a point in that last Knicks game where I looked up and the entire Knicks were pushing high optimal rates, right? But give me Julius Randle and maybe some Seth Curry. Get you guys caught up. What up, Callie? What's good, Gun? Any advice for big slates? I'm new to DFS and they have me shook. Big slates are chaos, man. If you can't be around to babysit, don't play. Or isolate it. Play a showdown, play a turbo slate, or play on PrizePicks. And I think PrizePicks has made us fall in love with these big slates, guys. I mean that, man. It used to be absolute nightmare fuel to wake up and have to babysit 11 games of news and who's in, who's out, who the heck is playing Jaden McDaniels, you know what I mean? That dunks into it. The other night, Bruce Brown had a 50 bomb in that Sacramento game that we talked about. Like, you know, getting those randos right to win 100K is a lot harder on these bigger slates. So I certainly would say if you have grown accustomed to and created a process to research DFS and you're understanding positive matchups and positive opportunities, and you want to maybe stop from being overwhelmed, get some action on PrizePicks. Even if I'm not saying abandon DK or Fanduel, but get some action on PrizePicks to diversify your daily spin and still reward the research you're already doing. And their fantasy scoring is 1-to-1 with Yahoo and Fanduel. So get over there, and of course you see it. If you sign up using code GUNDECKER, they'll match your first deposit up to $100. So no reason not to. We'll put a link to that in chat. If you guys haven't signed up for it, do it. Do it. Do it now. Isaiah says, don't sleep on Steph tonight. Okay. Doug says, Murray, Vucevic, Randle are my payups for tonight. I fine with all those. We'll talk about Vucevic here in a moment as well. Mitchell looks healthy. I went with him in my lineup. Donovan Mitchell? Oh, Mitchell Robinson? Okay. So the question is Mitchell or Drummond? I think Mitchell, I think the minute projection is going to lean Mitchell on the seesaw. Unless, like, we got news that Nets were going to rest somebody, which I don't. There's a really this team needs to win. They're in a disaster spot, right? Eastern Conference standings show you guys the sense of urgency that they should be dealing with, and then Nets schedule. Almost clicked Netflix. That got me banned, right? The Nets are barely hanging on to that 8 seed. The Hornets, the Hawks knocking on the door, and then of course, the play-in spot, all that crap. And then the upcoming Nets schedule, they got the Knicks today. Then they got a back-to-back tomorrow hosting the Wizards. And we mentioned the Wizards are knocking on the door, so maybe they play re-inspired after some trades. And then what do we got after that? We've got other side of the All-Star break, Celtics best defense of the millennium, the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. The Raptors are looking really, really good, and that's a home game, so no Kyrie. Then they go to the Raptors again. Then they get the Heat, the top 2 team in the Eastern Conference. They get the Celtics again. This is about to get real hard, real fast, right? And then, of course, you got the narrative game here. So unless Ben Simmons can come back and Kyrie gets more involved, they got Jazz coming up, Heat again, Grizzlies are on fire. The Nets' sense of urgency to win is got to be at an all-time high, and I don't know. So I guess the long story short is I can't expect them to rest anybody. So if they don't, then I can't put big minutes on Drummond, and I gotta lean towards the minute expectation for Mitchell Robinson. Right now, I got a +8 differential in minute projections for Mitchell Robinson versus Drummond. So I'll probably let the minutes do the talking there, right? What do you think about Josh Giddey? I like Josh Giddey quite a bit. I think the Thunder team's going to be pretty well owned from DFS standpoint, and then Josh Giddey has kind of shown us, or at least the coaching staff has shown us that maybe that a couple of games at around 30 minutes are well beyond over. Let's move on to the next game here. Bulls hosting the Kings. Project starting 5 for the Kings: Darren Fox, Justin Holiday, Harrison Barnes, Mo. How could you be so heartless? And Domantas Sabonis taking on Ayu Dosunmu, Kobe White, Javonte Green, DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic. We got a 232.5 total, 5.5 point spread in favor of the Chicago Bulls. Kings throwing De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis up against DeRozan and Vucevic. We'll start with the Bulls side because the Bulls have a higher predictive value in what we might expect them to contribute in life without Zach LaVine. DeRozan is on another planet right now, playing, getting himself into MVP-like conversations, right? And we'll put DeRozan and Vucevic on the court. We'll take off all the guards here: LaVine, Caruso, Ball. And that leaves us with a couple of numbers to key in on. First of all, 30% usage rate for DeMar DeRozan, 25% assist rate, and Vucevic 27% usage rate with a 21% assist rate. So these are the two, right? These are the guys getting it done. And then my favorite number here is this nearly 1.3 fantasy point per minute for Vucevic on both DraftKings and Fanduel. It's just an incredible number. And we've seen Vucevic put together some pretty strong games, 50, 60, 70 fantasy points in his last 6, 7, 8 games going out there. Dropped that 70 on Indiana, that 64 on Toronto, and a bunch of 50s in between. So I do like Vucevic from a DFS standpoint, and I did have a hankering for Vucevic on a PrizePicks card standpoint as well. They have his fantasy point prop at 46. I'm looking for the over on 50. 46 still a hefty price tag to pay, so I get it. And then DeRozan's point prop is at 32.5 real points, and that's a number he's clearing. But when you get to 30 plus, you start wondering if that's the risk that you want to take. But for fantasy, on a 230 total, we chopping that in half, 18, 19, 20 implied points for the Bulls. It's hard to see DeRozan not be attached to 30% of those points, if not more. And the same with Vucevic. So I like those two. Ayo Dosunmu and Kobe White, a little bit more volatile. Dosunmu did foul out in that game against the Spurs. Got off to a sluggish start as Kobe White was off to a hot start. Dosunmu ended up playing 37 minutes. He fouled out, but was working, hustling, trying to become a solid play here. And I think I'm going to be able to have goldfish memory go back to the well at 6K on both Fanduel and DK. He's coming in with over 30 fantasy point projection. Same with Kobe White. I will drive a wedge between them. I probably don't have a lot of overlap between them. And I probably just focus on DeRozan and Vucevic. And even DeRozan and Vucevic probably don't coexist a ton in lineups tonight because of their price point. On the Kings side, Darren Fox, we mentioned Terrence Davis is out. Davion Mitchell was downgraded to questionable earlier. We'll type that in the spreadsheet. Fox and Sabonis should be the two that the Kings lean on the most, and Fox is on a stretch of just chucking the ball. 20 plus shot attempts in competitive games should be the expectation here. Only 18 shot attempts against Brooklyn. Lost a decent chunk of minutes in that fourth quarter, but should have been 36, 37, 38 minutes in a more competitive game that we had been seeing for Fox in a couple of games prior. You expect that 20 plus shot attempts. The thing with Fox right now, he's not really contributing to much else. We kind of talked about this on the PrizePicks show before this show with Josh. Can that sustain? Will that sustain? Talked about how Fox and Sabonis pick and roll could be a strong tool for them going forward in the near and distant future, and that Vucevic has been a guy that gets lost on the pick and roll defense quite a bit and is pretty notorious for doing so. So maybe this would be a spot where those two can pull that out. The issue with the Kings for me is that all year they've been pretty pesky with their front court minute rotation, and I don't know how to justify the 25 minutes of Sabonis against the Nets here. Is it because they went small? Is it because they were getting blown out? He lost a big chunk of minutes in the fourth quarter. What was it? Because even though he was yanked halfway through the fourth quarter, Fox was still out there, Harrison Barnes was still out there, Divincenzo got into the mix here. Were they just trying to play small, or the Kings just dumb? And I'm willing to believe that it could be a little bit of both, but the Kings have been hard to predict, and all year long getting Rashawn Holmes involved, Alex Len here and there, Tristan Thompson here and there, Marvin Bagley, Chimezie Metu, and they've also got Trey Lyles, who saw a couple minutes in mop-up duty in that last outing. So I hate that they have so many people that if Sabonis was a 35, 36, 37 minute pacer guy here, I'd be all about it in this total. But for some reason, just planting that Kings logo on a coach makes me worried. And I don't know if I put 34 minutes on Sabonis. I don't know if I trust that, if I want the over, if I want the under. If I was the coach, I'd probably want his size to match up 1-to-1 with Vucevic, but we'll see. I mentioned Davion Mitchell got downgraded to questionable. One of the newly acquired acquisitions from the Department of Redundancy Department is Dante Divincenzo, who had a big stock game in his last outing for the Kings here. 5 steals on top of 12 real points and a couple peripherals. So 27 minutes is a good sign for him, and could he benefit here for the second unit perhaps if we get no Davion Mitchell. Looking at the Kings rotation in that last game for Dante Divincenzo, looked like he was playing somewhat alongside Darren Fox. They just had a pretty wide open carousel of guys getting action. But Davion Mitchell, there was a couple minutes of Davion Mitchell in the first quarter, the second quarter, 1 or 2 minutes in the third quarter, and the closing. His 26 minutes could result in an extra 5 to 8 minutes for Dante Divincenzo, unless they just give it to Josh Jackson or somebody like that. So I kind of like the thought of Divincenzo in tournaments tonight to get cheap access to a 230 plus total. He's coming in at just $3,900 on DraftKings, way cheaper than his FanDuel counterpart. So maybe jot that name down in pencil. And if we got Davion Mitchell rolled out later, it would be that much stronger, right? Anything else here? I think Javonte Green was questionable. If Javonte can't go, it might open up some minutes for like Troy Brown, Derek Jones. Derek Jones out? Maybe Derek Jones Jr., but I'm not too excited to get to either one of those guys. Javonte Green, ankle is probable, so he's good to go. So I'm probably not running to that then. Right to Ace Ventura reference. That's what you stepped in. Do you like Fox assist? It seems so low. He hasn't been dishing the rock like that, right? And that's what I was talking about with Josh. It's like, is Fox going to be a point guard that we can't bank on for 5-6 assists, right? So Fox and Sabonis so far on the court together this season. Fox has a 16% assist rate. Now, 83 minutes, that's not enough sample size. It needs to grow. I can't imagine you want your point guard to be that uninvolved in shot creation, but maybe they like it spread out like this. Again, the Kings are the Kings, but I would say at least in the sample size we're dealing with, that Darren Fox assist prop being at 4.5 is justified in terms of that being not a free square line, right? He's averaging 5.1 on the season, but that's before you got an extra involved guy like Sabonis, and Sabonis is the guy that, unlike a Rashawn Holmes and maybe Marvin Bagley, guys like that, part of his game is to be a cheaper version of a Jokic or a Vucevic or somebody like that can spread the floor and create shots. So 4.5 maybe just isn't that free square for Fox assist. Lamb is another option if he's available. Yeah, it's the Kings are just annoying to try and predict, right? What up, Cheyenne? Do you consider Aaron Wiggins a must play? Do you think he will outscore Neto straight up? Must play is a little bit hard. I saw or heard that he was getting extremely high ownership earlier today, like 40-50% levels of ownership, and he's really, really cheap on both sites, essentially bare bones min. As far as him outscoring Neto, I've got Neto at 29 minutes, 30 fantasy points on Fanduel, and if I look forward to the Thunder, I got Wiggins at 32, 28. So it's essentially the same play, and I got a little less minutes on Wiggins, but I'm willing to give Wiggins more minutes because I just didn't quite know what to do with that situation. And you guys know the drill. Everyone's out for the Thunder. We'll talk about that game here in a few. So I got him close to being the same play. If you standard deviate 5 fantasy points, then you lean maybe the lower owned guy, but Wiggins is fine. Gentry kills Fox. I don't know what they're doing, man. I don't know what they're doing. The Halliburton trade is the ultimate Kings move, but it just seems like for the last half decade, the Kings have never felt like they had a lack of talent. They had a lack of leadership, a lack of someone to put the talent to work, right? Just think about some of the names: DeMarcus Cousins, Buddy Hield, Willie Cauley-Stein, Marvin Bagley, Darren Fox, Tyrese Halliburton. Like they got some guys that you should be able to make something happen, and they just haven't, and they just aren't. And I think it's leadership. I don't think it's the talent. I think the talent's not being utilized the way they should be. So what do I know? I'm just a guy on YouTube. Wiggins seems like a 0.885 fantasy point per million. That, yeah, let's go. And the thing is, like, at that price for 34 minutes, like that's not bad. Chronic in the chat. What up, Willie Wilson? Doing all right? 2K plug in the chat. I miss anybody? Shout out to you guys out there. Lenny up in here. Lenny says, I need a win tonight. Don't we all? Hit them thumbs up. Where we at on likes? 73, 159 views. I appreciate that. You guys are the best. 100 plus likes is the goal. We might do a week pass giveaway. And then 200 likes. You get Damron out of retirement. Spurs at the Thunder. Project starting 5. Wait. Raptors at the T-Wolves. Project starting 5 for the Raptors. Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam taking on Patrick Beverly, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt, and Karl Anthony Towns, the big cat, Ernie Ladd. Guys, I don't know. So Discord changed something, and so when somebody posts a tweet, for some reason right now on Discord, it's like previewing the image associated with the tweet, which if there's not an image, it's the user profile. So we have it to where all these underdog tweets go to our Discord, and it's just a giant picture of the underdog dog. And I don't know why it just cracks me up that Smeezy just keeps posting this dog that's gonna haunt us. Shout out to Smeezy, man. NASCAR is back this weekend. Rob Wilkins with the follow. I appreciate that, Rob. Welcome to the channel. Anyway, T-Wolves hosting the Raptors, 229.5 for our total. So I think this game likely happens a little bit different than what we're looking at, and I think it involves Fred VanVleet being out and Anthony Edwards being out. We'll talk about both sides. First of all, we're talking about the T-Wolves side. T-Wolves night 2 of back-to-back played against the Hornets last night, and Anthony Edwards got hurt halfway through the game. Did not play the second half. I mentioned it. That's what opened up Jaden McDaniels in the second half. He did start the second half in lieu of Anthony Edwards, and being hurt midway through a game, and then the next night your team has a game right before the All-Star break, feels like there's a real chance Edwards could and perhaps should miss this game. And then on the Raptor side, Fred VanVleet has missed a game or two here and there. He was listed as questionable coming into today, and then I believe we read earlier that he was not part of shoot-around. So let me see if I can quantify that information. Exited Monday's game. He exited Monday's game, and then I swear I read he didn't go through shoot-around. Didn't participate in shoot-around on Wednesday. So might be a hint that we should expect him not to play. So if we get the Raptors and T-Wolves without VanVleet, without Anthony Edwards, we get to increase our expectations on a couple of usage rates for a couple of guys. We'll start with the Raptor side. If you caught the PrizePicks show, you might have already heard us discuss how Siakam's numbers get a whole lot more interesting. So we'll put Siakam on the court, and I'm going to put Gary Trent on the court as well. And I think there's a couple of lineups that the Raptors could throw out, but I think the most likely lineup that we see from the Raptors is the one where Achua goes to center and everyone else moves up a bit. And in that lineup, Siakam assumes a lot more ball handling responsibility, actually leads the team in assist percentage at 24% with a 27% usage rate. Gary Trent's at 27% himself, and Siakam over a fantasy point per minute. So I am looking for action on Siakam. Assists at 5.5, and then just overall the PR, the fantasy score makes a lot of sense here. I'm already got him projected for high 40s because of the total, because of the uptick in pace. The T-Wolves running a top 2 pace in basketball, top 3 pace in basketball, and the Raptors getting extra implied possessions, and Nick Nurse is going to let the Raptors play until they literally can't play no more, as you see with Fred VanVleet. So Siakam looking like a good play. And then Gary Trent Jr., his Fanduel price, $7K. I need 40 plus on that. I think it's possible, but the 6.1K on DraftKings, I think the opportunity at that price point, especially considering how he'll typically get his big games, that'll be from chucking the 3 ball. You get that extra half a point per splash. 8, 5, 13, 5 threes attempted the last couple outings. Last 2 games coming back down to earth, but that volatility is to be expected. 59, 30, 30 plus fantasy points. We've seen him in a couple games without Fred VanVleet. Let's go DKP by game log without Fred VanVleet last 10 games. Discord change is annoying. I hope they fix that. Gary Trent has given us 37 or more fantasy points in his last 5 games without Fred VanVleet, and a couple of 40 bombs in the mix with 30 plus real points in a few of them. So yeah, something to keep an eye on there. Definitely don't mind that. And then really you can make a case for any Raptor. I'm not getting a bad projection on anyone specifically. I will say the 11-game slate, we got a grade ceiling way more than a normal slate, 5-4 game slate. We can take floor a little bit more. That rhymed bars. I'm not a rapper. But like guys like Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, if you just see like mid-30s, that's kind of like their upper end of the median, then I wouldn't be as enamored with them. But Gary Trent and Siakam, I think, are the 2 guys I'd be most intrigued with here. On the T-Wolves side, if we get no Anthony Edwards, we would be able to point an expected upgrade in usage for D'Angelo Russell and probably most certainly Karl-Anthony Towns. So D-Russ on the court, Cat on the court, Edwards off the court. We get a 35% usage rate for Karl-Anthony Towns, and D-Russ has a 32% assist rate. Patrick Beverley signed an extension. It is a back-to-back. So far, I'm expecting him to play. If Edwards can't, the assist rate for D-Russ goes down to 27% with Beverley on the court, but 27% is still pretty doggone good for a 230 plus total. Cat's usage rate still at 40% 1.4 fantasy points per minute. So if we take Edwards out, Cat is definitely the guy that in the sample size we're dealing with so far gets the biggest boost. So to put that in perspective, that 1.4 fantasy points per minute without Edwards on the court, if we put Edwards on the court, that 1.4 number goes to beep boop beep boop 1.28. So yeah, pretty sizable boost there. And we have seen centers thrive against the Raptors front court as of late. And Cat's a guy I think could do pretty well here. And early on, Cat was one of the few names at the top 10 of fantasy point projection. One of the few guys that got over 50 fantasy points, right? Karl-Anthony Towns is right up there with let's see, he's top 10 in fantasy points. DeRozan, DeJounte, LeBron, Vooch, Randle, Trey Young, Jokic. And this is responsibly projecting Edwards in. And same with the Raptors. I did not take Van Vliet out. I did not take Edwards out. I'm just speculating that they would probably be out based on the information we do have, you know? Let's get caught up on chat. Ezra says Scotty Barnes, Trent, or Anunoby. Who are you leaning to? I'd probably go Trent 1, and then Scotty, and then Anunoby. But Trent's probably like my number 1 there. 2K, so who's your favorite 2 on PrizePicks? Like 2 plays ever, just on the slate today. I'm probably going to be looking at Randle, maybe Tyrese Halliburton, fantasy points, maybe Kyle Kuzma, fantasy points. I like a lot of fantasy point discrepancies between my projections and theirs tonight. And then Cat. What is Cat's on PrizePicks tonight? Cat is at 46 fantasy points. I got him at 52, and I think without Edwards, we might see that spike. How's that? Let's put that. Karl-Anthony Towns, DKP by a game log without Anthony Edwards. Let's go last 5 games. I think I saw only 3 games without Edwards. Yeah, 58, 56, 42. So I guess we'll change that to FDP to be more in line with the PrizePicks scoring. So 54, 40, 56. So 2 of 3. Kind of surprised that it's not more than that, you know. Stars and scrubs or balanced. Gotta go stars and scrubs on this slate. It's too many studs and there's too many scrubs, right? There's just going to be guys that over projected their price point at under 5K, and there's going to be guys that are super strong raw point projectors at the big one. So 11 game slate will almost always be stars and scrubs for me, at least, and really almost every slate gets to that anyway, you know. Did I miss anything? Keith said he's killed him even before the trade. Either cuts his minutes mid games out of nowhere, tells him others get involved. Something, yeah. What are you gonna do? What up, Brandon? So glad you were doing you, kid. Love the stream, man. I appreciate that, Brandon. Wiggins. All right. Vanderbilt is the sleeper. You think so, Willie? I do like Vanderbilt from a per minute standpoint. I do wonder about how many minutes are available. How did those minutes shake out last night? Vanderbilt's used to somebody I get for like 24 minutes, and then like Torrin Prince and guys like that get involved. Vanderbilt last night ran for 37 minutes. That's definitely more than I would expect. It maybe, you know, we -5 or whatever overtime. So at 30 minutes, is 30 minutes normal? Nasri, 2 fouls. Torrin Prince, no fouls. I guess so. I have him for 26. I definitely think per minute, you're definitely right. I think he's a great play per minute. And then Jaden McDaniels, do we run back and chase that? If Edwards is out, McDaniels one of the best points per dollar plays on the slate last night. I think we don't want to make the mistake of 1-to-1ing last night productions to tonight, right? It's a back-to-back. They traveled east to central. It is not the Hornets defense who run as fast as you, a little lankier defense. So I don't want to, have the same hopes and expectations. But McDaniels, I guess, would project well if we copied their starting lineup from the second half last night into tonight. Prince can always snap off if he gets minutes. Yeah, Prince is a pretty solid defender, too. Spurs at the Thunder. Next game on the docket. Project starting 5 for the Spurs. DeJounte Murray, Devin Vassell, Dougie McBuckets, Kelvin Johnson, and Jakob Poeltl. Am I not Poeltl enough for the Poeltl Club? Up against Josh Giddey, Trey Mann, Aaron Wiggins, Darius Bazley, and Isaiah Roby. 218.5 total, 7.5 point spread for the visiting San Antonio Spurs. We got Lou Dort out. We got SGA out. Ty Jerome out. Mike Muscala out. Jeremiah Robinson Earl out. And Kenrich Williams. So we knew SGA is going to be out for a while. And then Lou Dort's been down for the count last couple games. But Kenrich Williams, Ty Jerome, newly acquired additions to the injury list today. And those guys, while they might be insignificant in terms of playing them in DFS, they still represent probably a combined 35 minutes, right? If we pull up OKC, that last game for OKC went to overtime. Again, blind here. But in that game, we saw Ty Jerome offer up 19 minutes, and we saw Kenrich Williams offer up 27 minutes. So where do those minutes go? Well, ownership is pushing us towards Trey Mann and Aaron Wiggins. Aaron Wiggins played 30 minutes essentially in regulation. Trey Mann played 30 minutes essentially in regulation. I guess closer to like 27 minutes of regulation. Got some OT. Trey Mann put up 30 real points, I believe, in that game. And I think a lot of people are going to open their eyes to that and expect that to kind of be the case here. And I don't know that it is, but I don't know that it ain't, because who's going to score for this team? Josh Giddey can be a bucket, but he also looks like he can be a pretty efficient facilitator. Trey Mann, the last couple games, 16-11 shot attempts, but that's 16 against the Knicks, 30 real points. It's definitely something that you'll like to see. If we pull up the rotation here, I think the two guys I feel the most solid about are going to be Josh Giddey and Darius Bazley. And then past that, it becomes a little bit more unpredictable. But let's try and get some numbers here. First of all, we'll put Giddey on the court and put Bazley on the court. I'm not going to start putting Wiggins and all these other cats on the court. But I will take off SGA. I will take off Lou Dort. And that's it. I'm not even going to... Kenrich Williams is such a non-factor. And Ty Jerome's, again, it's those extra minutes I'm trying to fill. But Giddey and Bazley on, SGA, Lou Dort off. I'm getting a 34% assist rate on Giddey with a 25% usage rate. Bazley's only at an 18% usage rate, 0.96 fantasy point per minute. But I think the minutes is the justification here. This front court for the Thunder, pretty depleted. No Jeremiah Robinson Earl, no Mike Muscala. Isaiah Roby just came back into the mix. They waived Mohamed Diakite, and then Derek Favors is there, and Pokusevski's there. But basically, we expect him to kind of play the most minutes here, and I got him for the most minutes on the team. So that's 6,500 on DK. I think Bazley's in the mix for me, and Giddey is, and Wiggins is just becoming a click because he's bare bones min price on DraftKings and $100 above min on Fanduel. And it's hard to get 30 plus minutes of realistic minutes in a decent matchup, decent total for that kind of price. So I think the projection isn't like staggering here, but if you get 25 plus at almost, you hear the term free square. Well, this is as free as it gets in terms of price. So I don't know where I'm going to land in terms of making my Aaron Wiggins decision versus the field, but I'm probably going to have to be there just to have similar lineups that give us some studs and scrub potential to open up salary for the Jokic's of the world and guys like that. Wiggins has not been a great per minute guy, 0.3 fantasy points per minute on the season. But we start taking out some of these higher usage guys, try to make this a little bit tighter. Trey Manns and Aaron Wiggins might have to pick up some slack here. Aaron Wiggins still at 0.3 fantasy points per minute in this split. And then Trey Mann is over a fantasy point per minute. Not any bit of sample size on that to sink your teeth into. Is what it is. 7.5 point spread on the other side. DeJounte Murray without Derek White has been essentially vintage Westbrook, giving you 50, 60 fantasy point potential every night. And we know this Thunder team, while they have been scrappier on defense, their offense not great. And they turn the ball over, and they also offer up a lot of blocks per game, as we saw in that last outing for Mitchell Robinson. He had 4 steals, 4 blocks. So maybe Jakob Poeltl, somebody that can get involved in those stats. And then a guy like DeJounte Murray, 2 steals per game on average right now as it is to beef up his floor. I got him at over 50 fantasy points on both Fanduel and DraftKings. In context to the slate from this far out, DeJounte would have been a top 5, top 6 fantasy point scorer. Just, fractions in that mix there. So he has a real shot to even go up on that. And then Jakob Poeltl is an intriguing name to click here based on that block information, right? The Thunder allowing the most blocks per game in the league. Is this something that we should be a little bit trepidatious on based on the fact that a lot of their normal usage guys, Dort, SGA, are not in the mix, or that's just, this is an undersized young team, and they just feed up blocks. And Jakob Poeltl averaging almost 2 blocks per game. He's priced at a point where I probably don't ever comfortably get to him from a DFS standpoint. But man, do we have some PrizePicks numbers for Jakob Poeltl worth getting to? They have him at 34 fantasy points. I've got him at 39, so that's pretty close. The Thunder have also allowed amongst the most fantasy points per game to opposing bigs and power forwards. So maybe that's not a line that I'm loving with Zach Collins in the emerging, but something to keep an eye on. I wish he was closer to 6K, but I think 7K still got 40 plus fantasy points live. Kelvin Johnson, another guy that's going to get big minutes here. I've got Kelvin Johnson at 31. I got Devin Vassell at almost 30 fantasy points versus PrizePicks having Kelvin Johnson at 26. So I get about a 5-point gap there. And then Devin Vassell, they've got him at 24. So only about a 4 or 5 point gap there. So nothing staggering. I think it's DeJounte as the forefront guy for me. And then Josh Giddey. Are you guys comfortable putting 8K on Josh Giddey's name tonight? 7,200 on FanDuel. I think the FanDuel price point stands out a little bit more. And then on the PrizePicks lines for Josh Giddey, I was kind of just cool with throwing a blanket over his fantasy points. 36 is one of the many guys tonight where I have over a 10-point gap between my projection and their projection. And I don't know if their projection stuck on him, supposed to be on a 30-minute limit, but the quote was they would keep him at 30 minutes for a couple of games. And then the last 2 games, he exceeded 30 minutes. And that last game, he played, into overtime. So kind of expecting not limited Giddey. And if, take off 5 minutes here, I'd probably get to 33, 34 minutes of Josh Giddey at that type of usage rate, back-to-back triple-double. So I'm probably going to have more exposure to Giddey on PrizePicks than anything, but I think Giddey at 7,200 is still a live click today. Let's get caught up on chat. Chat, I just be rambling, right? I just be going off. What am I even saying? Prince can always, yep. Today only 150 likes. Need 60. Oh, we only need 150 likes to get Dameron out of retirement. I think that's realistic. I think we can do that. Actually, 93, so 100 extra viewers and likes, and then we still got the records that we could break here. So 189 likes is the record. 150 gets Dameron back, and then I don't think we're gonna hit that viewership record anytime soon again. But just something to keep an eye on. So chat, hit them thumbs up, get them likes up, get Dameron out of retirement. Jaylen Brown is 7,800 on FanDuel. Interesting, definitely cheap, but probably should be a game that's rather lopsided. But I think Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, like those guys have individual upside worth having low exposure to if you are a multi-entry guy. And for me, 100, 150 lineups, I probably put them back as the tier 3 options and probably set a rule not to have them both in the same lineup. Do you like Seth Curry's price wise on DK? Jeff, I was curious to see where you guys were on Seth Curry as well. I think Seth Curry's price where I take 30 plus, need 30 plus, but on an 11 game slate, you really, really want maximum ceiling production from each guy. And I guess the real question is, how often does Seth Curry contribute 40 plus fantasy points tonight? I don't think it's 0. All right. I don't think it is 0, but at that price point, we're a stone's throw away from a guy like Gary Trent that would certainly open up in that price range if Van Vliet is down, Keith says, you against stacking the Turtle and Murray? Man, that Jakob Poeltl price, I guess, is a little uncomfortable. I guess yes. Zach Collins has been like 15, 16 minutes a game. Keita Bates-Diop is back. I don't think he's playing. And then they have Jock Landale. So I don't know what to expect from a minute standpoint on Poeltl, at 7K on a slate this size. So I'm probably not going to get there, but I don't think it's like a negative correlation if you just think you're going to get big minutes out of Poeltl. But I just feel like Pirtle needs to be a little bit cheaper for me to feel great. But the matchup is pristine, right? On the season, Oklahoma City Thunder have allowed a top 4 amount of fantasy points per game to opposing centers, and blocks are right up his alley. It's almost 2 blocks a game. OKC, I believe, allows the most blocks per game in the league. So, yeah, makes sense. I just don't think I'm there. I have a lineup with 2 Wiggins. Oh no, clear. Start over. If we're at 145, I'm taking mine back. This guy. Thoughts on Anthony Gill for value? Mike, yeah, we actually kind of discussed Anthony Gill getting some minutes. His end, result, the fantasy score may not be great. But I think there's a real shot Anthony Gill gets significant, might be a stretch, but he might get more minutes than Thomas Bryant tonight. I don't think I think he does get more minutes than Thomas Bryant, because Thomas Bryant's been on that restriction. No Porzingis, no Gafford, no Montrezl Harrell, no Rui Hachimura. Front court is pretty slim, right? So unless they pick someone up that I don't know about, Wizards could just feature him. Vernon Carey, Isaiah Todd. Are these guys actually on the team? Let's see. Might be a couple G Leaguers that they call up. Vernon Carey played 1 minute. So probably not him. Wizards have signed this guy to a 10-day. That was not recent. That was, he's probably not on the team anymore. So I think Anthony Gill is probably next man up for minutes there. So I got him for 26 minutes, which would be more than Thomas Bryant. The thing is, like, he doesn't do a whole lot when he's out there. So, like, if you thought 26 minutes at a point per minute, like, is 26 going to be a slate breaker or a strong piece to have on a big slate? I don't think the answer is yes or no. I was just curious what you guys would think if you got 24 to 25 fantasy points from Anthony Gill at 3,400. Is that going to make you optimal? We'd take it, but also would like. I expect the most out of my value plays. Maybe I'm I don't know, I'm greedy, right? I need the Tyus Jones games, you know what I'm saying? That's what I want from my 3K players. You think OKC game's going to be a blowout? No, I don't, but it could be. It was at 7.5 points as a spread. OKC's just been hanging in there, man. It's just sometimes you get a team that's too young to know they're supposed to suck, right? 7.5 points. And even if it's a blowout, like, I don't like. What does that mean to us? Because the Thunder will probably keep these guys on the court. They don't have a deep rotation here. They got more guys on this out list than I've got in this rotation list here. I guess that would maybe take some steam off of DeJounte Murray. But I don't know. I'm not game scripting a blowout, but I don't know. Certainly could be. The Thunder don't make no sense, right? They as a team on the season, the offensive efficiency is the league worst, and they're playing without SGA and Lou Dort. So Lou Dort's not a elite offensive player, but SGA is definitely every bit of their offense. So how are they keeping games competitive? Well, it's been playing above average defense, and Lou Dort has been a part of that above average defense, and maybe Kenrich Williams has as well. So maybe they are going to regress to where they should be here, and get on the wrong side of a blowout. I don't know. But again, if they get blown out, I don't know that means less minutes for this projected starting lineup. Doug says Brissett is still a good play on DK. I'm scared of the lack of minutes for Brissett last night. I think if you are able to have goldfish memory, go for it. But Jalen Smith out there being so active, Goga's out there. I feel like Terry Taylor. If these guys are gonna get down to under 30 minutes a game at 5,600, I'm a little bit scared. The 40+ fantasy points against Cleveland and Minnesota, certainly know that's what his upside can be. I guess it comes down to his rebounds here, but the 10-minute loss of minutes from the last 2 games to yesterday is a little bit scary, and I do think it could be correlated to the Pacers front court getting a little bit healthier, right? There was games without Terry Taylor, games without Jalen Smith, and now if you have more people active, I'm a little bit more concerned, right? What up, Ronald Jones? Ezra says Tyus Jones or Wiggins for me, last man in. Tyus Jones would be contingent on John Morant being out, And if John Morant's out, it's snap call Tyus Jones. But I also believe the field would do that as well, right? But it would be snap call Tyus Jones. But you need John Morant to be out to get there. Let's talk about that game. Memphis Grizzlies hosting the Portland Trailblazers. Project 35 for the Blazers. Anthony Simons, CJ Ellaby, Josh Hart, Justice Winslow, Yusuf Nurkic taking on John Morant, Desmond Bane, Zaire Williams, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Steven Adams. Stone Cold Steven Adams going to give you one board. What? 228.5, so our total 11.5 point spread in favor of the Memphis Grizzlies. Cyan says, do you have Ja responsibly in? Yes, I do. I tend to have these guys projected in until they're officially ruled out. I do think I can get to a point where I maybe get Van Vliet and Edwards out in my projections, but I don't like to guess wrong because my projections, they're feeding more than just me, right? I got 20, 30, 40 subscribers in the Discord that are also using these projections. So I don't want to make the wrong calls, but I like to be pretty open about what we're looking for and what it would boost pre-flop. So and then the Vipers know that. So I do have them involved in the projections right now. And then, of course, if John Morant were not to be in the lineup tonight, Tyus Jones can run back, being a great value play at 3,800 on Fanduel, 3,100 on DK. And then the usage boost for Jaren Jackson. And I guess we'll start by researching that side so we know what numbers we're looking for if we react to John Morant being out here. Let's pull up Memphis. And then while we do that, let's actually see if we can get a lean on John Morant's status for tonight. Low-owned Halliburton worth it. What up, Rob Thompson? Yeah, and I think Malcolm Brogdon, if he's out again, which I expect him to be, Halliburton's fine. Big minutes, him and Buddy Hield. All right, we are pulling up Memphis, and we are looking at John Morant. Left ankle soreness, this is questionable. Says the person that has the most to gain is tired. We just talked about that. So he's a questionable, right? No news is bad news or no news is good news. I don't know. If John Morant can go, he takes 25, 30% usage, probably give you 25, 30 real points, and then a little less or a little more off the top for Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. Cam Loco, appreciate that sub, man. Welcome to the channel. If John Morant is out, Tyus Jones likely gets inserted into that starting lineup again. And I don't expect 20, 30 real points out of Tyus Jones game to game. But we do know that guys like Jaren Jackson Jr.'s usage will go up. Typically, Desmond Bane will be number 1 to number 2 on the team in shot attempts and usage. But Tyus Jones is such an active player that way too cheap for the opportunity that would be before him 2 days in a row, and the Portland being such a good matchup. He'd just essentially be a free square. He hit 80% ownership yesterday, so I expect that to be more of the same, if not higher, after the success he had last night. But on the season with John Morant out and Bane and Jaren Jackson on, we got a 31% usage rate for Jaren Jackson Jr., 1.36 Fanduel fantasy point per minute production rate, same for PrizePicks. And Desmond Bane also into the 20s on usage. And Tyus Jones has shown almost a fantasy point per minute style production. I have, some players you get right, some players you don't play, and some players you get wrong all the time. Steven Adams, I just don't play, and I swear every time I look up, he's flirting with a triple-double for no reason. 32 minutes against the Pelicans last night. 14, 13, 5 assists, 40 fantasy points in 3 games in a row. 38 or greater in 5 of his last 6. Chat, why am I not playing Steven Adams? I know why. It's because I never get a deep minute projection on him, 26, 20, 23. But holy cow, his efficiency is through the roof right now, with and without John Morant. And, his shots are going to be right there at the rack, right there at the rim. So he's not going to miss many of them. I don't know. Are you guys on some Steven Adams here against this Portland Blazers defense? If so, 5,400. It's a good little price tag for him if you like him for 30 plus fantasy points. FanDuel makes the decision a little bit easier at almost 7K. That's one of your $1,500 price discrepancies between the two sites. But DK, maybe Adams holds this up. He might be a pivotal part of your lineups. Jaren Jackson Jr. though would probably be the guy for me at 7,100. I'm looking for 40 plus fantasy points without John Morant. I think it's a real range of outcome. Matter of fact, let's look at all the Grizzlies props here on PrizePicks and focus in on Jaren Jackson Jr. at 36. Straight up 36 might be a lineup I'm okay with attacking the over as is. And then if we take out John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr.'s production being at 1.3 fantasy point per minute in decent chunk of sample size, that would be one of my higher owned numbers here. Jaren Jackson Jr. FTP by game log without John Morant last 10 games. 40, 63, there's a 15, there's a 37, there's a 16. What's the 15 and 16? 15 is in 20 minutes. Was it a foul game or no? Yeah, he fouled out, and that happens. And then we got a 16 in 24 minutes in that game. He had 4 fouls. Let's see if we can check the scoreboard on that. That was last month, and that was of course against the Trailblazers, right? Dylan Brooks, Tyus Jones, Devin Bain, Adams. So literally the same lineup as today. Took 13 shots. Powell, Lillard, whole different team though. Like Nurkic is the only constant, so I'm not too worried about that. I'd just let the math do the talking and take some Jaren Jackson Jr. Here. And then if John Morant's out, this Grizzlies defense actually becomes better, and it's been a good defense as is. What's the official number? Grizzlies defensive rating without John Morant this season is 100. So 100 would be elite. And that kind of sours my expectations on the Trailblazers overall. I think Anthony Simons on Fanduel being under 7K, I could see a shot at 40 plus fantasy points. I think Josh Hart on Fanduel, I think he can hustle stat his way into 30 plus fantasy points. Winslow and Nurkic is where it gets a little bit uncomfortable. And Winslow, a little revenge game, I guess you could say. He's cheap enough, and he's put together a stretch of strong games. Last 4 games, 30 plus minutes, and you're really giving you a fantasy point per minute in those games. But again, is the ceiling worth it? Is there a ceiling at this price in this matchup worth putting him in the mix on an 11-game slate? Not a yes or no answer for me. It's just a game theory thought process. So if you think there is a ceiling for Winslow to have a probability of being optimal tonight, then you get some exposure to him. Early projection did kind of like him on FanDuel. But I don't have the warm and fuzzies on him, right? I'm kind of leaning the Grizzlies here. I would like John Morant out so I can think a little bit less about lineups and just jam in all the Tyus Jones. I've been playing a lot of Adams PRA on PrizePicks, Scott. Nice. Doug says yes to Adams. Keith says, I swear he gets 11 offensive boards a game. Adams is so good. Trent, Hart, Baisley, Bain, or Winslow if you had to pick one. Baisley without news. Trent if Van Vliet's out. Bain would be third if John Morant would be out. Hart and Winslow. Probably Hart over Winslow. But Trent if there's no Van Vliet. And I kind of expect Van Vliet to not play. Did not go through shoot around. What up, Antoine? Yo, you guys out there lurking? You might want to take a peek below the video. See that subscribe button? If it's red, that means you a hoe if you don't click it. I'll tell you that. We are at 6,515 subscribers. So we hit over 6,500 yesterday. We're less than 500 away from 7K, which is nuts to that you guys are like pushing it that fast. We've got over 500 subscribers in the last 28 days. That's insane. That means we are literally on pace to do big numbers and be over 7K within a month. So if you guys want to continue to support this free content, just hit that sub button, hit that thumbs up, man. It goes a long way. So I would be forever appreciative of that. We've got 3 games left on the docket. Before we do that, take a pause for the cause. Let you guys know if you want access to this spreadsheet, my personal player pool, the prop detector for your PrizePicks hunting sessions. Go to rundfs.com. Click VIP memberships. Find something that you want to take a shot on. If you do get like a week, whatever patch you get, let me know. Or don't even let me know. I'll make sure that we add like 4 or 5 days to the the memberships to account for the NBA All-Star break downtime. And then we will have some Daytona 500 coverage this weekend. Pricing came out on Fanduel and DraftKings for the field. My boy Smeezy, the crew chief of RunDFS.com, already working on the spreadsheets there. So I'm excited to help him where he needs help and get that going, man. Some Daytona 500 this Sunday. And then Saturday, I don't think there's anything on Saturday, but the birthday's on Saturday. My birthday's on Saturday, so we'll try and take that day off. But Saturday or Sunday, have some Daytona lineups going and sweat out a milli maker, right? And hope your guys crash or don't crash, and you win all the money. So if you guys want to be part of this community, on top of the spreadsheets, the picks and all that good stuff, you get access to this RunDFS.com VIP Discord, 24/7 premium chat, and we do the pre-lock voice chats, and I'll be in here after the stream up until lock, a little bit after lock, hanging out with you guys, shooting the breeze. I'm scared to scroll down. Any other news for tonight? Dennis Smith Jr. partially torn UCL, so probably going to get more minutes for Anthony Simons going forward. Cole Anthony just got downgraded to questionable. Midday questionables, right? So maybe that would boost Jalen Suggs a little bit, but it'd still be pretty rock steady on Wendell Carter. Maybe that moves that 5.5, 6-point line just a little bit. Just a little bit. Houston Rockets at the Phoenix Suns. Project 35 for the Rockets. Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, Eric Gordon, Jay Tate, Christian Wood up against Chris Paul, Devin Booker, McCall Bridges, Jay Crowder, and DeAndre Ayton. We got 234.5 total. 15.5 point spread for the home team Phoenix Suns. So rather lopsided spread here. Rockets have just been taking the pound town the last couple days, drawing the short end of the stick, catching Utah at Utah. Now you catch the Phoenix Suns at home. Suns are just dominating teams right now. So I won't have a ton of interest on the Rockets side of this game. And I don't have a ton of interest on the Suns side. It really comes down to, do we expect 4 quarters for the Suns here? Suns are on night 2 of a back-to-back, right? Last night, the wily veteran Chris Paul played 35 minutes against the Clippers. Clippers been scrappy. 14, 15, 19, 12. Look at these assists. It's so dumb. You'd wonder about the potential of the Suns, giving these starters a little bit of rest, especially an elderly Chris Paul, in a beatable game at 15.5 point spread. I think you can't rule out Chris Paul because Cameron Payne and Landry Shamet are not active, and they definitely don't seem to be running to give Elfrid Payton minutes. But if you don't have to play Chris Paul 40 minutes, the sooner you can get him out of there, the better. Get him iced up, rested up for this All-Star break, and finish strong. So I'm finding myself being a little bit soured on this game and not overly exposed. DeAndre Ayton, we were on his rebound prop last night. Houston Rockets really, really bad at really everything. They give up a lot of blocks and steals as well. Maybe we can pick up some small time props to attack, maybe first half props or blocks and steal props. I don't know if Bridges has. Sometimes McCall Bridges will have one. Suns. No. 1.5 3-point made for Jay Crowder. Blocks and steals 1.5 for Jay Crowder in this spot, maybe, right? Rockets allow, if we look at that team metrics chart in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet, Rockets allow the most steals per game, and then when it comes to blocks per game, they're third. So maybe Jay Crowder picks up some defensive peripherals, but I guess he would also qualify as one of those journeyman veteran that probably wouldn't play that many minutes, and you just hand it over to Cameron Johnson, Torrey Craig, guys like that. So I'm very nervous with the Suns in their minutes tonight, and I don't think I'm going to get to the Rockets on an 11-game slate. Hope for the best. Moving on to the next game, Denver Nuggets at the Golden State Warriors. Project 35 for the Nuggets. Monte Morris, Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, Jeff Green, Nikola Jokic taking on Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, Kevin Looney. Kuminga sounds like he will make the Rising Stars game as a reserve. I forget who's missing, but he's in. 224.5 total, 5.5 point spread in favor of the Golden State Warriors. Jokic is the bulk of my interest on the Nuggets side. His strengths exploit the weaknesses of the Warriors, as Josh was telling us in the PrizePicks show an hour or 2 hours ago. the Warriors have been pretty strong defensively with and without Draymond, more so with, but their biggest weakness is the paint, right? They don't have a lot of size down low, and we have seen big games against them. Guys like Whiteside and maybe guys like Jokic can come in, get a million rebounds, and then also just not have enough size to slow him down. If you believe in this game being close and competitive, 5.5 point spread, I've got Jokic leading the slate in fantasy points right now by about 3 points. Guys like Trey Young, Julius Randle up there behind him for a little bit cheaper, significantly cheaper. But if you just like raw points, the most raw points on the slate, that dog usually hunts. So I will have some Jokic exposure. Steph Curry, 9,700 on FanDuel. I probably am not forcing the issue on Curry and Curry on FanDuel and DK because of Trey Young, and then Klay Thompson in the mix as well. Getting to about 30 minutes now. I'd probably get more action on him on PrizePicks versus anywhere else. Andrew Wiggins around 6K on both sites. Look for 30 plus fantasy points. I think it's viable, but I'm not getting like massive numbers here. If you ended up with a sprinkle of Steph Curry, I'm not going to talk you off of it. But I think the bulk of my interest in this game is Nikola Jokic. What up, Willie Lewis? You doing all right today? What up, Jason Bell? Anybody else out there? I'm not missing anybody. All right, we got one game left on the docket. We already did the pause for the cause. We got one game left on the docket. Hey, follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Gundacker. I don't really track milestones on Twitter that much, but it looks like if we want to make a milestone out of 3,000 followers, that's on the docket. It's 26 away from that. So be great, man. Interact with me on Twitter. And then during baseball season, I will literally span your timeline with every Yankees at bat and react positively or negatively as appropriate to the moment. Kuminga replacing Duarte. What do you think about Cam Johnson? Cam Johnson's interesting, Cheyenne. And the reason he is for me, like we said, if the game blows out, I think Cameron Johnson could play 30 plus minutes in a super positive matchup. Fast pace, just porous defense, and you would likely give him more minutes than you would a guy like Jay Crowder. So, maybe a little uncomfortable because he's not the guaranteed, or he's not the starter or whatever, and not guaranteed to play more than 20 minutes if it stayed surprisingly competitive. But I think 26 to 30 minutes is not crazy if that game does go super lopsided, but definitely not like a core value or anything like that. But the thought isn't wild. Torrey Craig's there as well, right? Okeke. I don't have any Okeke interest right now. Last game of the docket, Utah Jazz at the LA Lakers. Projects 35 for the Jazz. Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Bojan Bogdanovic, Royce O'Neal, Rudy Gobert taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. We got Russell Westbrook, Malik Monk, LeBron James, Stanley Johnson, and Anthony Davis. 226.5 total. 5.5 point spread in favor of the Utah Jazz. If you took out the names here of Westbrook, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, and you just replace it with Joe Schmo, Bob Evans, and I don't know, Jack me off. Damron is definitely, god dang it. Why would I do that? Would the Utah Jazz be 5.5 point favorites? Meaning is that it? Shouldn't they not be a little bit more? Some of these advanced metrics are really leaning in favor of the Jazz, especially the Jazz that have Rudy Gobert, right? Looking at the team metrics chart in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet, Utah Jazz have the most efficient offense in all of basketball, and defensively, they're pretty doggone good as well. Top 10 and even better with Rudy Gobert. Meanwhile, the Lakers hanging on to the top 10 in offensive efficiency, and defensive efficiency not great either. So we're getting like a mediocre average Lakers team against a really good Utah team, and 5.5 is a little bit hard to I think the Lakers getting a little bit of name value here, and I think if this game stays close, I think on the season we have seen it be because of LeBron James just taking over. I got LeBron James second on the team in minutes, and then based on what the Utah Jazz is good at and what they're not good at, obviously Rudy Gobert can tighten up that paint a little bit, but the Utah Jazz will chuck a lot of threes, and sometimes the team will start trailing from behind. The other team has to chuck some threes. So looking at maybe Malik Monk to be efficient scoring for them, but I don't think his price is bad. And I just don't see myself getting to copious amounts of Lakers exposure today. The name that was most intriguing to me out of this game was Donovan Mitchell. Even then, I'm not, jamming that in at 9K. I probably want 50 plus fantasy points. I just like the idea of Spider Mitchell, in LA, up against LeBron, showing up to show out. But outside of that, I think there's a range of outcomes where this game is pretty average overall. And the Jazz could maybe make this game a little bit more lopsided as the Lakers continue their struggles. So that's what I got on this one. Anything you guys got before I get out of here at 3:45? I know that there's another show now up against this part of the show, so I try to get you guys out of here by 3:45 usually, but maybe a little bit more sense of urgency so you guys can go catch some of these other shows. Kuminga replaying okay, clips. Yep, I knew Dameron was going to do it. I knew it. But if you guys got anything else, throw them at me. But generally, I'm excited for this slate for PrizePicks. I like these big slates for PrizePicks. And then news-wise, I'm looking for Van Vliet. I'm looking for definitive news on Malcolm Brogdon and who's the other one? Anthony Edwards. So those are the three biggest pieces of news is that I need to kind of shape some lineups. And then Cole Anthony going down. We'll take a second to go look at that real quick. Not running to make any rash decisions, but maybe if we put Suggs and Wendell Carter on the court, and we take off Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony midday questionable. If you guys missed it, sometimes those midday questionables I brace for them to be closer to out. Suggs has a 25% usage rate, and Wendell Carter still leads the team in fantasy points per minute, 1.16 on both DraftKings and Fanduel. So not a whole lot would change there for me. And I guess Gary Harris might get some more run at 4K. Terrence Ross at 3,300. Uncomfortable clicks there, but if that total stays near 230, let's see, Vegas odds, then maybe 11 game slate, one wrong player you might not cast. It's talk that bad. I'm here. I'll get that other show after. I appreciate that. Favorite 3 plays of the slate so far before you leave, Josh? Is that for Fanduel, DraftKings, or PrizePicks? So Atlanta went down to 226, so we lost 4 points on that. Let's see what else we're looking for. Pick'em in Indiana. Boston's still 12.5, even with Marcus Smart and Robert Williams doubtful. Sacramento, Chicago still sitting at 5-6. San Antonio moved to 8-point favorites. Memphis is 11.5 still. Toronto game went from 230.5 to 227, I guess, after the Van Vliet news. But I guess after the Edwards news, we've got Toronto favored by 2.5. Interesting. I can see that. T-Wolves back-to-back, overtime, traveling Charlotte to Minnesota. I can see that. Houston is moved to 16-point dogs. Still 5 points in Golden State. Still 4 points in Utah. DK. All right, so favorite plays on DK. I think I have some 9K guys I think are a little too cheap, and that's Trey Young and Julius Randle. I think these guys have real shots at 50-plus fantasy points. Maybe the Cole Anthony absence makes Trey Young a little, I don't know. Vegas still has that game being close, but those are two names that I like a lot. And then just for a can't miss value, I guess is a danger statement, but just for value, Aaron Wiggins is pretty doggone cheap. Clint Capela is getting 30 minutes. On this matchup is far better than the Cavs and the Celtics matchup of his last 2 outings, perhaps making him a little lower owned. Derek White potentially 35 plus minutes without Marcus Smart. But if I had to grab a couple plays, I'd probably want plays that I think can put up big numbers at a reasonable ownership and price point. And I think having Trey Young and Julius Randle in my raw projections, soft projections, this close to Jokic, I'm willing to get to those guys pretty aggressively from this far out. And then I do like a bunch of the 8K and the 7Ks. And I'll see where I get to hearing them. But Kyle Kuzma, 8,600, I got 40 plus fantasy points on. Tyrese Halliburton, expecting Brogdon to sit again at 8,400. I think he's a good run back to Kuzma, 40 plus fantasy points. Buddy Hield, expecting 40 minutes ish of him at 6,200 bucks. That stands out as a pretty strong play. Gary Trent, should we get this Van Vliet out news at 6,100? We think 30 plus fantasy points happens a lot more than it doesn't. And then Siakam, Not an egregious price, but at 9,300, he's another guy that's going to join Trey Young and Julius Randle for me as guys that can give me 50 plus fantasy points in the absence of a Van Vliet, because he does play 38, 40 minutes in regulation, and this is a matchup against the T-Wolves that's going to net a lot of implied points, so a lot of numbers going up for him, right? Gun trending, let's go. Gunny for prize, free sour D. I don't know what that means, but I appreciate you guys, man. I'm headed into the RunDFS.com VIP Discord, which is behind the paywall over at RunDFS.com, as you might expect. Tomorrow's the last day before the All-Star break, so I'm going to be back at it tomorrow. We're going to go 2 p.m. Eastern for the PrizePicks show, 3 p.m. Eastern for the DFS show, and then school's out for summer. A couple days. Oh, and then when I come back, I'll be an even older man. I am out of here, man. I appreciate you guys making part of my day, be part of your day. You guys are the best. Hit that thumbs up on the way out. I love you guys. I hope you crush it. Tweet me the screenshots. Good luck. God bless. Go win some money.